Does Banshee have a god roll? Let's find out. Starting with one of my favorite auto rifles in the game, False Promises. And it's kind of a surprise because when this gun first came out during Season of Arrivals, I got what I thought would be the best roll, and I didn't like it. This gun needs a lot of help to make it feel good. And if you check my community tab, you will see that I posted a picture of the god roll. I will fight you on this. It is the god roll. The gun feels good. It kills things. It's great for end game content like GM Nightfalls, but you gotta have the right roll, and this is not it. This doesn't even hit the mark. If you're curious, Arrowhead, Break, Ricochet, Rounds, Dynamic Sway Production or Reduction, and Rampage. And this thing is just, Overflow could be good, but I'd rather have Dynamic Sway. Again, the gun has to feel good if you want to use it. Nothing else on here is good. Is it a god roll? Is it a good roll? It's a terrible roll. Night Watch, I have the curated version of this, and you can get the curated version by playing the introductory missions to New Light. And the problem with, I bought that accidentally, and the problem with Night Watch is that the curated role is really good in that it gets the job done, but something about it isn't quite right. And I would like to try a different role on this gun. The curated is corkscrew rifling, which you have here, extended mag, overflow, and explosive payload, which is really good for doing like boss DPS, champions, things like that. But it doesn't feel good. And if you want the scout rifle to play that sustained damage role, honestly, I'd go with fluted barrel just to see if it could feel better. But everything else on here, not too hot. The magazine's trash. I personally would go with Tac Mag, especially if you're out noodling around in the wild. And Outlaw is good. I would take Outlaw, and I think multi-kill clip is probably, yeah, it's one of the top 3 options. The others being Rampage and Explosive Payload. Is it a god roll? No. Is it a good roll? Even though these two things are good, I wouldn't even call it a good roll because this stuff here is going to make it feel like trash. Wishbringer. This is a PvP shotgun, so as always, I would go with full choke and either light mag or tac mag. Assault mag doesn't come on this gun, and then either threat detector for PvE or slide shot for PvP, but only slide shot if you use it. I stress this every time we come across slide shot. If you slide, check the counter, and if you're never using that perk before it runs out, it's useless to have it on your gun. In this column, snapshot sights could be good for PvP, as could opening shot. Rampage would be a great choice if you're PvEing it up. So is this a god roll? No. Is it a good roll? No. Eternal Blazon, when you get a good roll on this thing, it feels amazing. And I would highly recommend going with the Flash HS5 sight or Torch, and it doesn't have either one of this, but looking between Transmission and Jolt, I would be inclined to go with the Jolt. Ricochet Rounds is my top choice. High Cal would also be good. I would prefer full auto trigger here. You could also go with Overflow or Rapid Hit maybe. And in this column, Kill Clip looks like the best choice. Is this a god roll? No. Is it a good roll? It really depends on your playstyle. If you're using slide shot, it could be good, but I'm going to say no. Temptation's Hook. This is one of my top choices for PvP swords. If I can't use my Deathbringer because I'm using another exotic like Ace of Spades, I'll put Temptation's Hook on. And this is really a decent PvP roll. I picked it up just to play with it, but there is a little bit of waste on here. Jagged Edge is my top pick. You could go with Heavy Guard if you're going to be blocking. I would prefer Swordmasters. Tireless Blade, in my opinion, since you're going to be chucking bolts of lightning at people with your heavy attack, Tireless Blade is, in my opinion, the best perk for this column. You can also get Relentless Strikes, which I like, but I personally don't see myself doing light attacks with this sword. Whirlwind Blade is only good if you're doing light attacks. So if you're using Tireless Blade, Whirlwind Blade probably is not going to be a good pick because these require 2 different play styles. I would, however, go with Vorpal, because if you're like me and you use this for PvP and you're rocking Tireless Blade, which honestly you're probably not going to have enough heavy to really trigger Tireless Blade, but Vorpal is going to come in handy because if you're chucking a sword lightning bolt as someone who's supering, that'll give you extra damage against this person. For PvE, I would go with Relentless Strikes and probably Surrounded or Whirlwind Blade. And finally, we have Outrageous Fortune. I called the God roll on this a few weeks ago, and it wasn't this roll. However, it's a tough one because this gun doesn't have like your textbook rolls. With this grenade launcher, you really have a couple of different routes you can take, and on the one that I picked, I have Linear Compensator with Spike Nades and Threat Detector. I would like to have Rampage because that would be a great PvE roll. And honestly, that was also the God roll. I think it's one of the best rolls in the game. However, with this one, you have Volatile Launch. High Velocity Rounds is not picked by people on this gun for some reason. People have been going with Proximity Grenades, which makes sense because that's used a lot for PvP. Prox Grenades, not Remote Detonation. I know I pointed at that just now. And Rangefinder seems to be the best pick for PvP. Well, also for PvE it could be useful because it increases the projectile velocity. And then I would say Rampage is best in this column for all game modes. I would love to get one with Rampage. So I'm not sure what's going on with the mag. If you bought this, I would go with High Velocity Rounds. This is usually a top tier perk on grenade launchers. I would have no qualms about buying this. In fact, I did buy this. Is it a God roll? No. Is it a good roll? It's a great roll. That's it for Banshee. No God rolls, a couple of good rolls, but if you're missing this week, I think you're going to be fine. If you'd like to support this channel, liking and commenting on the videos tells YouTube to share these videos with others who may find them useful. If you'd like to provide monetary support to help keep this channel up and running, visit my locals and subscribe star communities.